What's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode here in NHL 24. So in last episode, we had the first round of the playoffs against the Seattle Kraken, and we thought it was going to be probably a little bit of an easy task for us early on. However, it proved definitely not to be that easy of a series for our team. As you can see, the first three games were fantastic. 2-1 win there, 4-1 win in Game 2, and a 4-2 win in Game 3. So looked like we were playing pretty good offensively, not the best offensively, but still solid enough. And then our defensive play was fantastic. However, we didn't drop 3 straight games, losing 2 of them by 1 goal, so 6-5 and a 2-1 loss. And then we also lost 4-2 in Game 6. At that point, I was thinking the reverse sweep was going to happen. However, our team managed to use its prior experience, I guess, to its forefront. Ended up winning 6-2 in Game 7 and getting ourselves back to the second round again. So we got kind of a little bit lucky that our team was able to find itself, because usually when you lose 3 straight games in the playoffs, the reverse sweep is likely going to happen. However, we managed to find offense from everybody, and then we went back to our good defensive stats from the first 3 games of the series. But here in round 2, we're going to be taking on Chicago, and Chicago is a familiar team. We've played them many times. We actually did play them last year. I just could not remember because we've had so many playoff series in this franchise mode that it's easy to forget when I last played certain teams. But we've played Chicago quite a bit of times in the playoffs before, obviously led by one Connor Bedard, and obviously our former goaltender still in Logan Scarlett. But they still have a pretty solid roster. I wouldn't say they're the best roster on paper. They were really good at one point during the regular season, and they did drop off quite a bit. So I am a little bit scared because of that. But you can see this is what their team is looking like. So Jokela, Bedard, and Guerin, this is the really good top line that we need to shut down for sure. Giordano has been there for a while. He's decent as well. Everybody else is kind of like those kind of like players that just randomly chip in here and there. Some of them are pretty old at this point, like Colts is 37, so I don't know if those guys are going to step up too much for the Chicago Blackhawks, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these guys actually score against us. So there is their forward group. From a defensive standpoint, they still have like Kevin Korchinski and a couple other guys I believe have been here for a while, like Couturier and Buchinger. I don't think some of these other guys have. I think some of these are pretty new. Yeah, I think Regier must have been recently brought in, right? Yeah, he was recently brought in, it looks like, in a trade with the Seattle Kraken, interestingly enough. And then goaltending-wise, you can see there is our former goalie, Logan Scarlett, who's been there for a long time now at this point. I'm actually kind of surprised that he stayed in Chicago after we dealt him. So he's been there for 6 straight seasons, and he is a pending free agent unless he has a contract extension in place, which let me actually go take a look and see if he does. I don't know if it really matters too much, but I do want to see if he's actually going to be back with the Blackhawks again next year, because it's kind of nice that a trade like that actually worked out for them too. And no, he's not. He's still a pending UFA, so it's interesting to see if Logan Scarlett resigns with Chicago or if he will be testing the free agent market in this offseason. Not that we need another goalie, but it's still kind of neat to see where our former players go, obviously. So anyways, that's that. Let's get in your guys' comments now and see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get into the second round matchup against the Blackhawks and see if we can get to the conference finals once again. So the one and only comment is from Michael Dose, who says, this time the Canadian team won Game 7 on a potential reverse sweep, LOL. So he's just shouting out the Stanley Cup Finals. And yeah, I was kind of not liking how the finals, Edmonton ended up losing that one. I was hoping Edmonton would win. Obviously, I'm happy for Florida because Florida gets their first ever Stanley Cup, so I'm okay with the either way, but I was hoping that Edmonton would have pulled through, because that would have been like one of the most historic Stanley Cup finals that anybody has ever witnessed, where a reverse sweep happens like in the modern day. Like, that would probably beat Stanley Cup finals from any time that I've watched. Like, I've been watching hockey since 2002-03. I remember watching Stanley Cup finals since at least 05-06. So I would be really it would probably been my favorite Stanley Cup Finals of all time if the Edmonton Oilers pulled off a reverse sweep, just based on the fact that it had such an interesting outcome to it. So I was hoping for some history, but it unfortunately didn't happen. But shout out to the Florida Panthers on winning their first Stanley Cup, because they definitely deserved it as well. Hopefully we see Connor McDavid back in the finals relatively soon, because I would prefer him to win with Edmonton than a different team if he is to leave Edmonton at some point, but never know what could happen with that. So anyways, there's that. I think we're pretty much ready to get into the second round matchup. I do want to actually take a look at our player stats again to show you guys who did what for us in that opening round. There was some underlining problems a little bit with how our players were playing. Like some of them were really good. Like you could see like Irving, Vandermeer, Bickle, like a lot of good offensive numbers. However, I was a little bit concerned with some people's plus minus, especially Taylor Blunden. Obviously, last year in the playoffs in his first ever few games, he was fantastic. And then obviously his rookie season, he was really good too. However, in his first 7 playoff games this year, he only has 2 assists and he's -6. So I'm hoping for a big second round from Blunden. Hopefully he could put up some numbers, put up some goals, and get that plus minus also a little bit more respectable. Also, wasn't really too sold on Jordan Goddard's performance. I don't know what happened with him because he's always been a very good offensive defenseman. However, he only had 2 assists in 7 games, so not doing too much offensively. And his plus minus was a -4, so he was a little bit bad in the defensive end as well. And then also Bulbrook kind of disappointed with 3 points is not bad, 2 goals is okay, but the -3 is also not ideal. So hopefully those guys get better. Chiquizzi also kind of needs to pick up his offense a little bit because he's a top line guy. So a couple guys I would say need to improve if we want to obviously continue winning. Last year when we won the Stanley Cup, we were a dominant offensive team. This time around, though, we actually have good goaltending with Per Bergqvist. So hoping that Bergqvist could have a good second round like he did in the first round because he's been a very inconsistent playoff goalie. And I honestly don't know still if I trust him fully, but he's had 3 really good playoffs. And then last year, obviously, he had only an .868, yet we won the Stanley Cup. So it'll be interesting to see if he can maintain his form from the first round or not, or if he'll go back to what he did last season. So anyways, there's that. Let's see if we could go to the conference finals. There is a chance that if we do, we might have to face the Anaheim Ducks again. As you can see, they're taking on the San Jose Sharks. You also have Buffalo and the Rangers, which is interesting because obviously the Buffalo Sabres, we played 2 times in the Cup Finals. They've also beaten the Ducks in the Cup Finals before, so Buffalo's a great team. You also have Philadelphia, and Philadelphia obviously had a fantastic season last year. It ended in Game 7 of the conference finals. They didn't have as good of a regular season this year, which makes me think that they might be the favorite for the Stanley Cup this season. So anyways, here we go. Home ice advantage. Let's get into game number 1 of the second round and see if we could have more consistency to our defensive play. And also if we could get some of those guys that are more offensively driven to start getting more offense going for themselves, like Blunden. First period of game number 1. 2-1 us. Solid offensive start. Chiquizzi opens the scoring. We did just shout out Chiquizzi that he needs to be a little bit better. And he does get his 3rd goal of the playoffs. That's nice to see. Looks like we must have had a long power play, or we had a power play right afterward. Chiquizzi scored his goal as well because Baumgartner scores a short-handed goal for them. And then Bulbrook gives us the lead. So Bulbrook also coming through with another goal too, which is nice. Hopefully that helps out with his plus-minus a bit. Shots are 14-13 in favor of us, but it's a 2-1 game for us after 1. So pretty even start. Let's see if we can maybe start to try and find a way to pull away from them a bit, because obviously if they hold into this game, Connor Bedard could come through with the goals. We know how he plays. Second period. 3-1. There's a nice little insurance marker from Esteban Walter. Couple minutes into the period as well. Shots are 27-23 in favor of us. Let's see if we could lock this one down and take game number 1 if possible. Come on, boys. Just lock it down for 20 minutes, and we'll take game 1. Giordano getting Chicago on the board again, and Dansk ties it up. That's not ideal. That's not ideal. Come on, Per Bergqvist, you got to be better, buddy. You got to be better than that. Oh, my goodness. Dante Guerin scores. The Blackhawks have their first lead, and Bergqvist got pulled. Bedard came in and scored on Mills early, and we're going to lose 5-3 in game 1. Despite having a 3-1 lead going into the 3rd. We also outshot them 40-35. Per Bergqvist has a rough first game, at least well in the 3rd period, I should say. The first 2 periods were fine, but that is not what we really wanted to see with our team. Our team's definitely struggling defensively in this playoffs, which is kind of weird. Chiquizzi from Ekholm, Bulbrook from Blunden, and Wilson. So Blunden picking up an assist, which is nice. Walter from Bulbrook and Hansen. But then, yeah, the 4 unanswered goals. Yikes. Connor Bedard with 2 points in that one. One on the, both on the game-winning goals, technically, so to speak. Oh, boy. That's not ideal. That is not ideal whatsoever. Let's take a look at these plus-minuses. Oh, my goodness. What the hell? And of course, one of their players that have actually been good defensively and offensively, Will Vandermeer, had his worst playoff game of his career. No points and a -5. For a guy that won the Conn Smythe last year, that's a pretty bad look. A pretty bad look, as Backer is also -3. Yikes. Okay, we got to rework some lines, and also Bergqvist was tragic. Mills wasn't good when he played for the 5 minutes either. Oh boy. Bolbrook got first star of the game, so shout out to Bolbrook for still being a star after that, but we need to make some adjustments. I know it's only one game, but if we continue to play like this, we aren't going to win a Stanley Cup, because we're just giving up a bit too much goals as of the last 5 games or so. Or 4 games, I think it is actually. San Jose's taking a 1-0 series lead on Anaheim. Let's go to edit lines and see what we could do here. Maybe we'll go back to our original lines, which is Walter in the top 6 and Blendon back on the 3rd line. And then we'll go back to Jacuzzi on the top line. Yeah, let's just go back to our original top 6 and original lineup. Who did I have scratched again? Hagelin, Nishenko. I just don't know why this team's struggling a bit defensively. Let's go with Scarlett and Vandermeer, Vernarski and Backer. We should probably get Goddard back into the top 6, actually. Yeah, we'll get Goddard up there with Backer instead, and then Vernarski can play with Reese. Sure. And yeah, Bergqvist, we'll give you one more opportunity to get back to where you were, because you have been a bit streaky. And if you do play a good game, you'll stay in net. If you play bad, maybe we'll start Mills for the next game. But Mills wasn't really great either. The only thing is we don't have any other options really other than Biggs. And Damian Biggs is not really the guy. He did play some playoff games for us a few years ago, but he was also pretty trash. Or last season, I should say. And he was really bad, but he won 2 games. So I don't think I would trust calling him up. So we got to either do Bergqvist or Mills, basically. So if Bergqvist plays bad, Mills is going to come in for next game. That was not ideal, especially considering I was on home ice as well. We got to now find a way to win a game in Chicago if we get to once we get to game 3 and 4, because or else we'll be in a really bad spot. So anyways, game number 2, we need to win this game, because if we lose both games on home ice, it's going to be very tough to win probably 2 games in Chicago. That's my guess at least. But here we go. We need a response, guys, after that 3rd period. Massive response, please. First period of game number 2. 2-0 us. Good start. Good start. Goddard opens the scoring. Good to see him on the board, considering, like I said, his offense has been kind of lackluster this playoff so far. And Jacuzzi scores again. So Jacuzzi's starting to pick it up too, which is also really nice. Shots are 12-9 in favor of us. We're up by 2 goals. Let's have a strong second period here. Hold on to this lead. Get some insurance as well, because we know that Chicago could score in bunches like they did in the 3rd period last game. So let's have just a good period here, and let's hope that we could find a way to lock it down in the 3rd period if possible. Second period. 3-1 us. Okay, we have a 3-1 lead again. It's a bit scary. Is it a little bit different this time? Who knows? Backer made it 3-0. Buchinger gets them on the board with 1:27 left. That's a bit scary. Shots are 23-21 in favor of us. We're up by 2 goals again. Can we hold on to this lead and not blow it like last game? Come on, boys. Learn from the past. Learn from the mistakes. Let's see if Bergqvist has it in him to play a better 3rd period this time around. And also our defense, too. Come on, boys. I believe in you. It actually makes sense that Vandermeer was a -5 since last game, because of the fact that he plays so much minutes. That makes sense that he was out there for all the goals against in that way. Come on, boys. You got this. Just final few minutes. Lock it down. You got this. I believe in you. And we are going to lock it down this time around. We win 3-1. That's a good performance. And that's why you don't change the goalies after just one game necessarily. Final shots 32-29, but we do win 3-1 this time. And we have a tie series headed to Chicago, which is very nice. Obviously, we got to win a game in Chicago if possible too. But that's a really good start to the series for us in this game. So Goddard from Timmins and Reason, Jacuzzi from Irving and Ekholm, and Backer from Jacuzzi and Goddard. So Goddard with a couple points. He's starting to pick up his offense a little bit, which is good. 3 stars of the game, Jacuzzi, Bergqvist, and Goddard. All right, so there is game number 2. I think I'm pretty much just going to keep the lineup the exact same for game 3 because of the fact that it just had a good defensive effort. Like, we've been a little bit inconsistent with our defensive play because I know I said we've been struggling defensively, but like our first 3 games against the Kraken were great defensively. This game, not good defensively. This game, good defensively. This game, not really. And then this game was good defensively. This game, not good defensively. This game, good defensively. So, in a way, we've had more good defensive efforts than non-defensive efforts, but I would say it's more our goaltending and not in our defensive play. So, I hope our defensive play could be a bit consistent more. And yeah, let's see if we could win some games in Chicago. So far, have we been a good road team? I don't remember. We are currently 1-2 on the road at the moment, so not ideal. But let's see if we can get some wins in Chicago and turn that record around. So here we go. Game number 3 in Chicago. Let's have another performance like last game. Maybe get a little bit more goals for us. That would be okay too. But first period of game number 3. 2-1 Blackhawks. Not ideal. 2 goals on 11 shots. So we need Bergqvist to be a bit more consistent. He's still a little bit inconsistent here. Hopefully he could find a way to be good in the second period and maybe our offense could kind of take over in this one. Like maybe we could be up 4-2 after 2 because I have seen that happen before when losing 2-1 after 1. But Salminen scores early. Ekholm gets a power play goal for us and then they get a power play goal of their own from Giordano. Like I said, shots are even. Can we find a way to tie this game up or get the lead or just keep it still close, at least going into the third? Second period. Hey, there we go. 3-3. They get an early goal to make it 3-1 from Korchinski. However, Wilson and Walter have other answers, as now we are tied at 3. So they blew a 3-1 lead at this point now, which is interesting. Shots are 22-17 in favor of us. It's a 3-3 game. We have not had the lead yet in this game so far. Can we find a way to get our first lead? Let's see what happens in period 3. And we immediately get the lead as Caden Wilson gets the power play goal. So Caden Wilson with a couple goals in this one. Love to see it. Caden Wilson's been one of the better players in terms of playoff success in the past. So always good to see him scoring some goals. And there's a huge goal from Bulbrook to give us a 2-goal advantage late. You'd love to see it. And Wilson completes the hat trick with another power play goal. Walter gets his second of the night as we blow up in the third period and win 7-3 in game 2. Let's go offense. And solid enough goaltending. 3 goals on 25 shots isn't crazy, but still, at least it's better than what happened in like game 1. Okay. Well, that was a good response from the offense. You love to see it. So Ekholm from Jacuzzi. We had Wilson from Bickle and Vernarski. Walter from Wilson and Bickle. Wilson from Bickle. Bulbrook from Blunden and Hansen. And Wilson from Bulbrook. Walter from Bickle. So the W is taken over. And that's why we won this game. Because of all the W's in the chat. So, yeah. Wow. Bickle had 4 assists in that game. I didn't even realize. And then Wilson had the 3 goals, the 1 assist. Walter had 2 goals. Bulbrook had 2 points. Love to see it. And then on the plus-minus department, a couple -2s from our top guys, but that's okay. And then Goddard and Backer are both -1. Bergqvist, not a strong effort, but he got the win, so I will take it. If he gets the win, so be it. Because obviously last year he was winning games even though he was playing like trash. Caden Wilson gets first star of the game, not a surprise. Bickle the second star, and Walter the third star of the game. Okay. So that's a good response from this team, especially on the road, because now we can't fall down 3-1 at least. But we do win another game in the road. That's only our second win of the playoffs on the road so far. The question is, can we win 2 games in Chicago to set us up for potential success on home ice? We've scored 10 goals in our last 2 games, and we've given up 4. So we are scoring 5 goals a game pretty much on average and allowing 2 goals on average. Let's see what happens in this next game. I guess I will keep the team the exact same because it seems to be doing good so far. I just wish Bergqvist was a bit more consistent, but what do I know? Maybe the rest of the team is okay with him being inconsistent. We just got to find ways to be consistently offensive and good defensively in front of our goaltender, and then we'll win games as well. So, anyways, let's get to this next game. We'll keep the lineup the same because we're winning games. Can we take a 3-1 series lead on the Blackhawks and be 1 win away from the conference finals? Come on, boys. Build off last game. Just build off the last game. First period. 1-1, I'll take it. Nice little solid defensive period. Wow, a lot of 1s, actually, because it's 1-1 after 1, and the shots are 11-11. So if you like the number 1 or number 11, you're in luck. Aiden Irving opens the scoring early on, and Donsk tied it up with 32 seconds left. I don't really like that we gave up a late goal against, because I think that always carries the momentum into the next period, but I'm hoping our team can kind of weather the storm that the Blackhawks might bring because of that late goal. So anyways, 1-1 after 1. Can we find a way to get that lead back in the second period? Second period. 5-3. Holy crap, man. Okay, the offense is definitely flowing through us right now after last game. Vandermeer makes it 2-1. Jacuzzi makes it 3-1. Timmins makes it 4-1. Bedard makes it 4-2. Bulbrook makes it 5-2. And Jokela makes it 5-3. Now, I'm a little bit scared that this could be one of those games that we end up losing 6-5, like blowing the lead completely in the third period. But if Bergfist has learned anything, he'll find a way to shut it down for us. If he hasn't, obviously, he might blow it. But so far, offense has been really good the last 3 games. We now have scored 15 goals in our last 3 games. The question is, obviously, if our defense could hold off the rest of this game. So let's see what happens in this third period. We are actually being outshot 24-23, which is another thing that makes me feel like they could come back. Now, what's going good for us, though, is they do have Reed in net, as Logan Scarlett was pulled after that Timmins goal. So maybe we'll get some more goals, considering they have a 77 in net right now. But let's see what happens in period 3, see if we could get some insurance and lock this game down, as Guerin makes it a 1-goal game. Yikes. Come on, Bergfist. I believe in you, man. I believe in you. You might be streaky at times, but you're a good goalie at times as well. Come on, I believe in you guys. Lock it down. Just get one more goal to make me feel safe. You got this. I believe in you. Please. And we hold them off. 5-4. So that was a scary game. Final shots were even, 37-37. But we managed to hold them off and win by 1 goal. And we are 1 win away from the conference finals yet again. Love to see it, but damn, that was a little bit of a scary game as well. We've had a lot of scary games in this playoff run so far, so I'm a bit skeptical about our team still, but never know what could happen. Anyways, the goal recap. Irving from Ekholm, Vandermeer from Timmins and Hurd, Jacuzzi from Irving and Ekholm, Timmins from Hurd and Reason, and then we have Bulbrook from Hansen and Vandermeer, which ends up being the game-winning goal. So there's that. Let's actually look at our player stats here as well. A lot of guys on 2 points, some guys on 1 point, and Backer was a +3 in that game, which is fantastic, and Scarlett was a -2, okay? Doesn't really matter too much. Bergfist had an 892, but he made 33 saves out of 37, so I don't think that's terrible, but obviously he could be a bit better. 3 stars of the game: Connor Bedard, the first star of the game, Dante Guerin, second star, and our captain, Aiden Irving. And our captain, Aiden Irving, was the 3rd star of the game. My voice keeps on trying to die on me for no reason. This is frustrating as heck when that happens, but oh well. Okay, so we have a 3-1 series lead. Now the question is obviously if we could win on home ice and close out this series or not. I still don't know if I really like our defensive play the last little bit, because now we've given up 8 goals in 3 games, which isn't terrible, but obviously it's kind of trending in a worse direction, because 1 goal against, 3 goals against, 4 goals against. Our offense has definitely been good, though. So, Anaheim and San Jose are currently tied at 2, so that's kind of neat. Philadelphia's up 3-1 on Pittsburgh, and Buffalo's also tied in their series. So, will be very interesting to see who goes on to the conference finals out of those other teams, and potentially us as well. Because there is a chance that if we go to the conference finals against the Ducks, the East could be Philly and Buffalo, which would make for a very interesting Final Four, in my opinion. But anyways, there's that. Let's get to this next game and see if we could close out the Blackhawks. We won't make any adjustments because we've been winning games. Can we close out Chicago and go to another conference finals? We got, obviously, the experience. We just got to find a way to use that experience to our leverage here, to leverage ourselves a win. First period of game number 5. 1-0 Blackhawks. Not ideal, but I mean, being only down by a goal is okay. Burke is off to an okay start too, 12 saves. Gove scores the only goal so far. I'm just hoping that our offense doesn't dry up out of nowhere based on this period, but let's see. Last game we had a really good surge of offense in the second period from our team. Can we do it again here in Game 5? Second period. Okay, we do tie the game up. It is Quentin Reese of all people, so we're getting a goal from Reese as well. I like that a lot of random people show up on this team at random times. Like our fourth line, Jamal Hurd had some points in the last game, I think it was, or the game before that. Reese comes through here with a goal in a potential elimination game. It's pretty damn nice when that happens. Shots are 23-19 in favor of us. It's a 1-1 game. We are going to the third period tied at 1. Can we find a way to get that lead and potentially close out the series? Come on, boys. I believe in yes. Hey, Ekholm immediately, a minute into the third period, says, hey, let me take leadership here, and gives us that lead. Let's go, Ekholm. Love to see it. We're up by still only a goal. Can we lock this down? Can we knock out the Blackhawks once again? Final few minutes. And we do lock it down 2-1. A good performance from Bergqvist. And your Winnipeg Jets are once again going to the conference finals for a chance to play in the Stanley Cup finals too, which is insane. Final shots were 38-30, so good performance from both goalies in that one, but we managed to just barely edge them out because of an early third period goal. So Reese from Walter and Wilson and Ekholm from Jaquizi and Blunden ends that series. A little bit scary early on, obviously losing game 1, but for our team to rally from it, I will definitely take that. And yeah, Bergqvist had a strong game in that one, so I don't really know what to make of Bergqvist right now, but he's winning games, and I will take it. So he gets first star, former goalie Logan Scarlett gets second star, and Ekholm the third star with the game-winning goal. All right. So we're going back to the conference finals. The Ducks have a 3-2 series lead, so we might honestly be playing Anaheim, which is kind of crazy. But let's take a look at our player stats through 2 rounds, and then obviously we'll see if we are playing Anaheim once again, or if it's going to be the Sharks, because I don't know if we've played the Sharks really in this series before. I think maybe one time, but I honestly don't remember. So in terms of player stats, Ekholm and Bickler are both point per game. Bickler's still looking for his first goal of the playoffs, but he has 12 assists, which is great. Hansen's been somewhat solid in terms of offense, 5 assists in 12 games. -3 isn't ideal, but he's been solid. And then Jamal Hurd has 2 assists. We have Walter on 9 points, Timmins on 5 points, Blunden on 5 assists, but no goals so far in 12 games. So Blunden needs to obviously find a way to score a goal. I think it's definitely going to be coming sooner rather than later, but he definitely is not having as good of a playoffs as he did last year. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. Considering this year in his rookie season, he had 52 points and 28 goals. You'd think he would find a way to score a goal, but he's a little snake-bitten right now, it seems like. And Reason has 4 points. Like, Reason even has more goals than he does at the moment. In terms of right wingers, Caden Wilson on 13 points. He's been great. Of course, he had that hat trick in that round. Aiden Irving on 11 points, Jaquizi on 9, and Bulbrook on 8. These guys usually are really good offensively, and they continue to do so far here early on. Kind of surprised that Aiden Irving's under a point per game. But then again, he is getting up there in age and could be a potential retirement candidate at some point in time. So he's definitely going to come through, I think, in the clutch soon at some point. Defensively, Vandermeer on 10 assists, or not 10 assists, 10 points. Even 0 because of that -5 game likely. But Backer 4 points, Goddard on 4 points. Goddard still needs more offense going for him if possible. Reese has been fantastic. 3 points as a 77 is already way better than expected, and a +7. And then you have Vernarski on only 3 assists, but a +6, which is nice. And then Scarlett 1 goal and -1. Goaltending-wise, Bergqvist has been still apparently good, a .917 save percentage, but there's been some games where he's not been good, so really don't know what to make of that stat line. And then Mills played only a tiny little bit. So there is our player stats. Now the question is, are we going to be playing the Anaheim Ducks in the conference finals? Again, we've played them, I feel like, 4 times so far in the conference finals. I honestly don't remember how much times, but their team definitely is a little bit different than it has been in the past. They do still have that Koivisto guy, and it is going to be the Ducks. Oh boy. Oh boy. So we have Anaheim in Winnipeg once again, of course. So that's Koivisto versus us. And in the East, Philadelphia gets eliminated in round 2 by Pittsburgh. That's a huge shocker. So the other Koivisto is gone. Buffalo will be going to the conference finals, though. So If we do go to the Cup Finals, we might play Buffalo again for the Stanley Cup, which we've done 2 times already in the series, which is kind of crazy. Or Pittsburgh. I don't know how good Pittsburgh's been, because Pittsburgh's definitely changed a bit probably since... I don't think... Yeah, we've obviously never played them in the playoffs, because we never played them for the Stanley Cup, but they've definitely gone through a lot of change probably over these last 18 years, or whatever you want to say. Not 18 years, I guess 15 or so years. But let's take a look at the Anaheim Ducks and how they did during the regular season and playoff-wise so far. And then we'll take a look at their roster. It's been a little bit since we played them, I think, in the postseason before. If we go to Western Conference here, they were the 4th seeded team. They finished 20 points back of us. But they weren't actually that good offensively, to be honest. And they do have their stud offensive players, but they didn't score as much as I was expecting. They scored exactly the same amount of goals as the Seattle Kraken. They were a good defensive team, however. Very good defensive team. They were better than us defensively. So that's a bit scary, considering that obviously we were elite defensively in the regular season. They had a good power play, despite not being huge offensively. And their penalty kill was actually better than ours as well. Alright, so that's kind of unique. What about playoff-wise so far? What has been going good for them and what hasn't been, if there's anything? So we are 8-4. They are 8-5. They're scoring 3.23 goals per game. We're scoring 3.67, so pretty close. They've been better defensively in the playoffs as well. They've actually given up the same amount of goals as us, but in 1 less game. So still pretty even, I would say, on that front. Their power play has been fantastic, 26% compared to our 21.6%, but both teams with some good power plays. And penalty kills, we're actually doing great on the PK right now, 93.3% to their 86.2%. So their PK hasn't been as good in the playoffs, but it's still been really good. And both of us 5-2 on home ice, and both pretty similar on the road. So yeah, Anaheim is a pretty similar team to us based on how they're doing in the playoffs at the moment. Anyways, let's take a look at their lineup, and then that'll be pretty much it for this episode at that point. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in this matchup. So yeah, this team, we've played them so many times. A lot of these guys are definitely similar, but a lot of these guys have also changed out since. Last time we played them, they still had like Trevor Zegras, but he has since retired, I believe. Maybe even Jamie Drysdale has retired too. But this is what their team is looking like. So you have Yanni Koivisto, who is very, very good. You also have Leo Carlsson and Ryder Ritchie. So I think Ryder Ritchie is getting a little bit of statistical boost because he's playing with some really good players. He had 11 points in 13 games so far here in the playoffs. Okay. And you have Leo Carlsson, who's been insane, 21 points in 13 games. And you also have Koivisto on the 12 goals and 20 points in 13 games. So these two guys got to be contained for sure. Second line, Tony Matvichuk. Was he on this team last time? He might have been, but as like a 4th line kind of guy. Mason McTavish at 36. He's dropped off a lot, but he could still bring some offense a bit. And they also have Connor McBain, which is definitely not there before. So they brought him in since we last saw. He has 9 points in the playoffs right now, so he's been actually pretty good. So shout out to that guy. Third line, Clifford Odell, Dmitry Medvedov, and Rene Phaneuf. Okay. Yeah, this is a weird-looking team. Like, they have a really good top line, but then it definitely drops off depth-wise. Down the middle, they're okay, but not super strong after Carlson, I would say. And a 4th line of Sven Oduya, Brendan Brisson still playing at 37, and Isaac Rosen is also playing at 36. So, interesting. So, I got some more veterans since we last played. Okay. So, that's what their forward group looks like. What about defensively? Pavel Mintyukov and Jamie Drysdale. Okay, so Drysdale didn't retire yet, but Mintyukov didn't either. Both of them very close to retirement. We've played them a ton of times. They also have Alexander Prokhorkin, Parker Gregor, Bryant Inglis as a 70 overall, and Wayne Glass as a 74. Yeah, this team is really weird. Like, I feel like they're kind of over-simulating. Like, they have a lot of good stud players, but they also have these weird, like, Bryant Inglis type players. Like, this guy was a 7th round pick, but he's playing as a 70 lowly. Like, he should be in the AHL for a few more years, in my opinion. And goalie-wise, Tommy Ladd, who is really good, and Jody Quincy. Yeah, Tommy Ladd's been a good goalie in this series. Yeah, 911 save percentage a couple years ago, and 920. He's definitely broken out. And this year in the playoffs, he's got a 917. Yeah, they almost won that cup in 2036, but they lost to Buffalo. I believe that was that cup finals. And in the backup, Quincy must have been just recently brought in. He was brought in from the AHL. Damn, okay. So they actually did draft this guy too. He's played 2 games in the playoffs so far, and he's been insane too. So they have some good goalies. And then scratch-wise, Noah Ostland, Harvey Setaguchi, or DeGucher. And then you have Isaiah Brindamore. Yeah, this Ducks team is really weird. I honestly don't know what to make of it too much. Like, they have their stud players. They have some really low-end talent. But those low-end talent players could definitely score still too. But I feel like their defense shouldn't be super strong in front of their goalies. But their goalies maybe are just able to stop any high-danger chances. Yeah, that's weird. So the winner of this will go either against Pittsburgh or Buffalo for the Stanley Cup. That's interesting. I don't know what Pittsburgh looks like at this point at all, but I don't know if the Ducks, maybe they're in a cap problem. Maybe that's why they have a 70 overall low lead, because I can't see why they would randomly be playing those guys. Yeah, they only have 1.365 in cap space with this current defensive setup too. Yeah, okay, so that's why, because they're paying like Minyukov $12 million. Drysdale's a pending free agent, but also could retire. He's making 9.63 per. Korkin's getting a ton of money too, 6.5 almost for an 82. And then you also have Ryder Ritchie getting 9.78 because he's been playing good statistically. You have Matt Tkachuk still on his ELC, but holy crap, like Leo Carlsson and Koivisto, $28 million combined. But I don't blame them. Don't blame them. And you also have Mason McTavish still on $10 million. That might be one of the worst contracts at this point because he's still signed for another year after this. Wow. So yeah, they're a little bit of a cap constraint, and that's why they have that weird depth to their lineup. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Winnipeg Jets franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to another conference finals against the Anaheim Ducks as we look to beat them once again and go to a cup finals against either Buffalo or Pittsburgh and maybe capture another Stanley Cup to add to all those other cups we already have. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.